is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability, which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Marge Lauber, and for the next hour, I'll be reading from the current issues of the Niagara Gazette of the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. We're going back to the 28th of November, and in this issue, they were talking about feeding Niagara. The Niagara Gospel Mission handed out more than 2,200 Thanksgiving meals. Volunteers and staff at Niagara Gospel Mission provided more than 2,200 meals to those in need across the Niagara region on Thursday. Around 300 volunteers showed up at the Portage Road facility and were assigned different roles for the Feed the Falls event. The work started on Wednesday night with volunteers cutting pies and prepping food to be cooked, while children colored the bags where the food would be packaged for families. Thanksgiving morning, some more volunteers came in starting at 7 a.m. to warm up the turkeys, corn, gravy, stuffing, and mashed potatoes. After they came in to drive the meals to families who had called ahead and asked for a meal, the food was provided to people in the city of Niagara Falls, the town of Niagara, and the city of North Tonawanda. The Niagara Gospel Mission also packaged individual meals for the Niagara Falls Police Department and all 5 fire department halls, along with security forces at the Niagara Falls Air Reserve Station, which all had people on duty away from their families on Thanksgiving Day, keeping us safe. We love doing to feed the falls every Thanksgiving and give a warm meal to those in community in need, said Reverend John Cooper, Executive Director of Niagara Gospel Mission. We may be delivering a meal, but it's more than that. It's delivering hope, the hope of the gospel. We hope that we all who received a meal know that they are loved by their friends at the Niagara Gospel Mission. Skip ahead to the next Gazette, which is November 29th to 30th. And the Community Mission celebrates 100 years of service. So in 1923, the colorful evangelist by the name of William Ashley Sunday made his way to Niagara Falls, where he started working with local church members on an effort to improve services for the city's poor. Those early revival meetings, known as gatherings of the Billy Sunday Club, spurred the opening for the city's first shelter for homeless men, a center known at the time as the City Mission. In the decades that followed, the work of the City Mission evolved, as did the organization itself. Today it is known as Community Missions of Niagara Frontier, Incorporated, a human services nonprofit founded in 1925 that, as of Monday, can literally say it's been serving the needy and the homeless and around the falls for about 100 years. Community missions leaders, including longtime Executive Director Robin Kruger, joined supporters for a 100-year anniversary celebration this past Friday at the Sheraton Niagara Falls Hotel. And in other news in this issue, the NU College of Nursing ready to launch Pathways program. So Niagara University's College of Nursing received a $4.5 million funding award to further work enhancing the local nursing workforce. The Help Nursing Pathways program, which begins in January, will implement educational interventions, provide scholarships, and mentor leaders pursuing a degree in nursing initiatives. The build on the college's current endeavors to create new opportunities and improve retention and completion for undeserved students. It will also leverage the college's partnerships with local healthcare organizations to create clinical rotations and experiences that will increase students' awareness of the opportunities available. 10 students will be accepted each year over the 5-year program period. The students will receive individualized comprehensive engagement plans, including services, academic coaching, and monthly programming, to facilitate their ability to successfully complete their degrees and enter the workforce. In addition, the college's resiliency A resource officer will provide ongoing counseling to foster students' personal health and well-being and help them adapt to the stressors they may experience in their roles as nurses. The HELP program will also offer an introduction to a nursing certification program for individuals from high-needs areas who are beginning their career in healthcare and want to advance into higher positions or pursue a degree in nursing. The Nursing Pathways program addresses the growing nursing shortage by preparing underrepresented students for careers in healthcare, said Dr. Christine Verney, Dean of the college. Students will receive the support they need to complete the program, and clinical experiences will be intentionally offered at settings with high vacancy rates to help fill open positions and encourage students to work at these facilities after graduation. Now, joining Lockport Cares as the hands and feet of Jesus, another article. In Lockport, the Reverend Ebony Singletary joined Lockport Cares as an executive director in October, just in time to minister to unhoused individuals during the city's brutal winters. As a child of a pastor who was raised in the church, Singletary's well-rounded background in business and nonprofits and her focus on social justice bode well for Lockport Cares. There are a lot of moving parts that are happening, Singletary said at Lockport Cares emergency homeless shelter. It's on Genesee Street. A lot of really great work is happening here. I am still in learning and figuring out phase. I think that Lockport Cares is a great organization with really great volunteers and staff, she said. For us to do more, we're going to need more volunteers. That is my next thing. Building partnerships, new volunteers, to make sure that we can do what we're going to do well. I think that the work we're doing at Lockport Cares is more important than ever because of the factors that are leading people to unhoused and to be unhoused in this community. Singletary said, we are seeing that the number of people who are facing homelessness are increasing, and it's a number of different reasons. Unemployment, cuts to benefits, or due to people being pushed out of jobs. I think that the economy in a lot of places and spaces is still trying to rebound from COVID. I think that there's a lot happening in technical spaces with AI that makes some jobs more difficult for people to hold, she said. There's also cost of living increases, and rent is becoming really high. The path to become home ownership is becoming more difficult for lower and middle class families. Before completing the Master of Divinity program at Northeastern Seminary in Rochester and being ordained in the AME Zion denomination, Singletary worked in administrations at Girl Scouts USA in Buffalo, where she saw programs of mentoring transform the lives of girls. Working for Girl Scouts was probably one of the most rewarding jobs I did, she said. I saw children come in as kindergartners and really develop into young women who weren't afraid to raise their hands in classes, have lots of self-esteem, and be agents for change in their community. There were lots of studies done about girls who were in single-gender environments when they felt more confident and comfortable, Singletary said. Usually around grade 3, 4, or 5, they stop raising their hands in classrooms, even if they know the answer. So with Girl Scouts, there was a lot of programs that were instilling you're smart, you're matter. Reverend Ben Stuckey, who previously held the executive position at the Lockport Cares, said he has gotten to know Singletary while sharing information about the job and organization. I feel like she's going to be an administrative level that is far superior to mine, he said. She's been asking some great questions about the business end of things, and she's really professional. And in other news, the suspect in the shooting of the National Guard member is facing murder charges. So in Washington, there's charges against a man accused of shooting 2 National Guard members, and they've been upgraded to first-degree murder after one of the soldiers died. The U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia announced Friday. Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, 20, and Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, 24, were hospitalized in critical condition after the Wednesday afternoon shooting near the White House. Trump announced Thursday even the Beckstrom had died. U.S. Attorney Jeannie Pereiro's office said the changes against Ramullah Lakanwal, a 29-year-old Afghan national who worked with the CIA during the Afghanistan war, now include 1 count of first-degree murder, 3 counts of possession of a firearm during a crime of violence, and 2 counts of assault with intent to kill while armed. Beckstrom and Wolf were deployed with the West Virginia National Guard as part of President Donald Trump's crime-fighting mission that federalized the D.C. police force. The president also has deployed or tried to deploy National Guard members to other cities to assist with his mass deportation efforts, but has faced court challenges. Trump called the shooting a terrorist attack and criticized the Biden administration for enabling Afghans who work with U.S. forces during the Afghanistan war to enter the U.S. The president has said he wants to permanently pause migration from poorer nations and expel millions of immigrants from the country. Okay, let's move on to the more current issues. This is one's from Tuesday, December 2nd, and it says HEAP is back in business. Good news. Enrollment now open for the season after delay due to federal government shutdown. So Niagara County residents can now apply for HEAP assistance following a month of delays due to the federal government shutdown. So Governor Kathy Hochul announced Monday that the enrollment period has officially started, with eligible households earning as much as $996 towards home energy bills. The Home Energy Assistance Program, that's HEAP, provides a one-time subsidy payment to adults age 60 and older who receive Social Security or supplementary security income. As temperatures have already begun to drop, it's disgraceful that the federal government took so long to provide federal funding for critical heating assistance for families across the state, Hochul said. The state's Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance oversees the program, with all the fundings coming through the federal government. And in other news, the family of the Niagara River boat crash victim filed a notice of claim. So the family of a longtime Niagara region businessman, Jerome Williams, has filed paperwork necessary to sue the city of Niagara Falls, the Niagara Falls Water Board, and the New York Power Authority in connection with the death in a boating crash on the Niagara River. The paperwork, known as a notice of claim, indicates an intention to file a lawsuit against a government entity or agencies, usually for alleged negligence. In the notice, a copy of which was provided by the Gazette, Williams' daughter Bridget, as a conservator of the estate, accuses the city, the Water Board, and the Power Authority of negligent, wrongful, unlawful, willful, wanton, and grossly negligent carelessness and reckless acts and omissions in connection with the crash. Williams, who is 66, of Buffalo, and his fiancée, Natalie Sanservio, 46, of Grand Island, were killed when a powerboat, owned and piloted by Williams, slammed into a Falls Water Board water intake on the upper Niagara River, just west of the North Grand Island Bridge, at about 9:40 p.m. on July 23rd. Witnesses said the vessel was traveling west when it slammed into a concrete abutment on the water intake. Crash investigators have estimated that the craft was traveling at more than 43 knots, which is 50 miles an hour, when it crashed into the intake. Witnesses said the force of the crash sent Williams and Sarah Severo over the side of the boat, and the vessel then appeared to capsize. The shattered remains of the boat were later recovered from on top of the water intake and floating in the river nearby. The body of Sanservero was recovered 2 days later about a mile downriver from the crash site. Williams' body at this time had not yet been found. In the local news, Kathy Hochul says the survey shows the success of New York's bell-to-bell ban on smartphones. So new survey results are showing that New York's distraction-free schools law is already having a transformation impact for students and teachers. Governor Kathy Hochul's office distributed the survey in November and received more than 350 responses from school administrators statewide that implemented bell-to-bell smartphone restrictions following the enhancement of the distraction-free free school law. Survey results from schools, 92% reported that the transition to a distraction-free policy went smoothly. 83% reported experiences more positive classroom environments and better student engagement since implementing a distraction-free policy. 75% reported that implementing a distraction-free policy is improving the ability to teach effectively. Hochul's office reported a principal in central New York that said it was a seamless transition. We've had zero issues with students trying to use their phones in school. The communication from the state first was great, and my district and schools followed up. There was no pushback at all. Added a superintendent in the capital region, much smoother than expected. Community and parents are supportive as well. A district administrator in Western New York said, high school teachers shared the students' response to literature are deeper and more meaningful. They are seeing students actually reading and not just looking for cliff notes for quick answers. They are interacting with the text at a deeper level. Our kids are finding greater success in the classroom when they're focused on learning and not scrolling, Hochul said. This year I was proud to champion a statewide distraction-free schools initiative, working hand in hand with New York teachers, students, and parents, to create a policy that works for each community across our state. These survey results are initiative of the effort, illustrating the effectiveness of our tailored approach to phone-free schools and offer a glimpse of the success to come for our students. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Niagara Gazette of the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Here's some kind of sad news for us. The heavy snow predicted for the Northeast, that's us. So Portland and Maine, black ice, snow showers, and fog pestered post-holiday travelers in the Midwest on Monday, while the Northeast geared up for its first major snowstorm of the season. More than 8 inches of snow fell at Chicago O'Hare International Airport this weekend, setting a record for the highest single calendar day snowfall in November at the airport, according to the National Weather Service. The previous record was set in 1951. About 300 flights into and out of O'Hare have been canceled by early Sunday evening, while about 1,600 have been delayed, according to the tracking site FlightAware. Dozens remain canceled or delayed there into Monday, and commuting conditions on roads are expected to remain dangerous in some areas well into Monday night. In the Northeast, some parts of northern New England were expecting up to 10 inches of snow. A windy, potentially icy storm was headed to the region and could soak some parts of the region's 6 states, while piling snow in others, forecasters said. The National Weather Service issued winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories in Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, Connecticut, and New York. And in Pennsylvania, they prepare for snow, with plowable snow expected to coat large parts of Pennsylvania. Crews began to treat lanes along the 565-mile Pennsylvania Turnpike system on Monday. They said that the agency's press secretary, Marissa Orbanek, that her vehicle restrictions on many interstates in the eastern half of Pennsylvania, including on the Turnpike system's northeastern extension from the Lehigh Valley to Clark's Summit, will be imposed at 5 a.m. on Tuesday. More than 600 equipment operators and safety workers are available to help clear the Turnpike's 2,900 miles of lanes. Orbanek said that the Turnpike's winter staffing schedule began in mid-November, and 23 maintenance sheds are staffed around the clock. Now, in Chicago, Don Harian was among the crowds of travelers at O'Hare on Sunday, hoping to make it back home after Thanksgiving, as hundreds of flights were delayed and canceled following a winter storm in the Great Lakes region. The 76-year-old retiree from Edmore, Oklahoma, had visited his daughter and her families in Illinois. He said that his first flight was 3 hours late, and his connecting flight to Oklahoma City from Chicago was already running about 2 hours behind. It is what it is, he said. It's congested, but it's expected due to the snow, the delays, and the holidays. Roads leading to O'Hare were packed Sunday with slow-moving vehicles, even after the roads have been cleared of snow. Now, Orson said that snow in the Great Lakes region was tapering off, but the new storm was heading to the mid-Atlantic and northwest, with up to a foot of snow by Tuesday. It's going to be the first snowfall of the season for many of the areas, and it's going to be rather significant. In other news, in Washington, Senator Democrat leader Chuck Schumer said Monday that 3 of his New York offices were targeted with emailed bomb threats from an email address alleging the 2020 election was rigged. Schumer said in a statement that local law enforcement received bomb threats referencing his office in Rochester, Binghamton, and Long Island with the email subject line magma. Local and federal law enforcement responded immediately and are conducting full security sweeps, Schumer said. Everyone's safe, and I'm grateful for their quick and professional response to ensure these officers remain safe and secure for all New Yorkers. A law enforcement source confirmed that Suffolk County Police responded to Schumer's Long Island office, but could not confirm the details of the threat. The person requested anonymity because the investigation is ongoing. The U.S. Capitol Police declined comment, saying that they do not discuss member security for safety reasons. Schumer said in a statement that these kind of violent threats have absolutely no place in our political system. Well, President Donald Trump lost the 2020 election to former President Joe Biden, but has falsely claimed since then that it was rigged or stolen. But courts dismissed or ruled against the campaign in dozens of lawsuits, and the votes were certified by elected officials in all 50 states. And speaking of Donald Trump, in other news, Donald Trump's doctor said that the president had MRI imaging on his heart and abdomen in October as part of a preventative screening for men his age, according to a memo from the physician released by the White House on Monday. Sean Barbarella said in a statement that Trump's physical exam included advanced imaging, that is standard for an executive physical, in Trump's age group. Barbarella concluded that the cardiovascular and the abdominal imaging was perfectly normal. The purpose of this imaging is preventative, to identify issues early, confirm overall health, and ensure he maintains long-term viability and function, the doctor wrote. The White House released Barbarella's memo after Trump on Sunday said he would release the results of the scan. He and the White House have said that the scan was part of his routine physical examination, but declined until Monday to detail why Trump had an MRI during his physical in October at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center, or on what part of his body. I think that's quite a bit of detail, White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt said Monday when announcing the memo's release. The Republican president said Sunday during an exchange with reporters as he traveled back to Washington from Florida that the results of the MRI were perfect. If you want to have it released, I'll release it, Trump said. Trump added Sunday that he had no idea on what part of his body he got the MRI. He was just an MRI, he said. Part of the body? It wasn't the brain, because I took a cognitive test and I aced it. Okay, now we're down to Wednesday, December 3rd issue. And Mayor Rustiano is weighing the possible budget vetoes. Niagara Falls Mayor Robert Rustiano says he's reviewing 5 amendments to his proposed 2026 city budget, but he has yet to decide on whether he will or will not veto any of the proposed changes. We're still analyzing the impact of the expenditure additions on the tax levy, Rustiano said on Monday. Nothing's final yet. The mayor has until Friday to make a decision on vetoes. After that, the Falls City Council, which made the budget changes, will have an opportunity to vote to override any vetoes. City lawmakers debated 19 changes to the mayor's proposed spending plan for the new fiscal year. One proposed amendment was withdrawn, and one was characterized by Council Chair James Perry as a housekeeping matter. Of the remaining 17 amendments considered by the Council, 7 called for reductions in pay raises for city department heads. By Council Member David Zajac, and all of them were rejected. The salary increases, which average about 2%, are directed to the city's Director of Purchasing, the City Assessor, the Corporation Counsel, the Director of Human Resources, and the Director of Public Works, and the Director of Code Enforcement. Council members did agree to amend the budget to modify the pay of the city's Director of Business Development and the Director of Planning. Lawmakers narrowly turned down an amendment to eliminate an unfilled position in the mayor's office. The position, Senior Executive Assistant to the Mayor, had previously been earmarked for Public Information Officer. The position, which carries a salary of $54,000, has been unfilled for more than a year. A proposal to cut the mayor's travel and training budget line faced item tie vote, and the council approved an amendment that increases its consultant budget line by $20,000, with Zajac, the amendment's sponsor, arguing that the money will enable lawmakers to retain outside legal counsel if necessary. Zajac pointed to an incident where city lawmakers told lawmakers that they could not provide them with legal advice because it would be contrary to a position taken by the mayor. Adding money will allow us in the city corporation council has a conflict to go out and retain our own counsel, Zajac said. So the Niagara Falls Memorial, they received Health Equity Innovation Award. Niagara Falls Memorial Medical Center has been selected as the recipient of the 2025 Health Equity Innovation Award from Univera Healthcare. It supports nonprofit organizations working to eliminate health disparities and improve health outcomes across New York State. The award will help fund an initiative to rapidly deploy a perinatal crisis coach to provide emotional and physical support to women undergoing a pregnancy crisis. Pregnant individuals, many of whom are low income, will be connected to obstetric care, mental health services, social supports, doulas, and grief counseling. The program was chosen for its innovative approach, strong community engagement, and alignment with the goal of advancing health equity. The Health Equity Innovation Awards reflect Univera Healthcare's commitment to improving community health by investing in programs to promote equity, expand access to care, and support underserved populations. We are honored to receive this award and grateful for the opportunity to make a meaningful difference in the lives of those we serve, said Joseph Ruffalo, President and CEO of Niagara Falls Memorial. This funding will allow us to further enhance our women's health services for Niagara County women. And in other news, People Incorporated, they want to develop a portion of DeGraff Hospital. So People Incorporated plan to purchase and redevelop the inpatient bed tower of the former DeGraff Memorial Hospital in North Tonawanda. The aim is to create a mixed-use facility with senior housing, an employee training center, and a day habitation program for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Vacant for more than 8 years, the tower portion of the building at 445 Tremont Street would be renovated to host between 65 and 80 apartments for income-eligible seniors aged 55 and older. Included in the total will be 18 apartments reserved for seniors experiencing housing instability and living with chronic medical conditions or physical disabilities. The plan, which is contingent upon approval of funding and financing from various sources, are presented to the Niagara Tonawanda Planning Committee on Monday, and overall project costs are still being finalized according to People Incorporated. The nonprofit human service agency, People Incorporated, currently manages more than 30 apartment complexes across western New York, including 2 in Lockport, providing the affordable housing to more than 1,300 residents. In 2023, the agency redeveloped the former Children's Hospital of Buffalo site on Hodge Avenue and Fullwell Senior Apartments, a 44-unit community for income-eligible seniors aged 62 and older. People Incorporated is proud to meet the demands for affordable and supportive housing while making a meaningful investment in North Tonawanda and the region, said Ann McCaffrey, President and CEO. This project reflects our mission to enhance lives and strengthen communities. With a proven track record of developing and managing senior housing, we are confident this redevelopment project will provide lasting benefits. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Niagara Gazette on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. And in the news, Hegseth cites the fog of war in defending follow-on boat strike on alleged drug boat. So in Washington, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth on Tuesday cited the fog of war in defending a follow-up strike on an alleged drug-carrying boat in the Caribbean Sea in early September. During a cabinet meeting at the White House, Hegseth said he did not see any survivors in the water, saying the vessel exploded in fire, smoke. You can't see anything. This is called the fog of war. Hegseth also said he didn't stick around for the remainder of the September 2nd mission following the initial strike, and the admiral in charge made the right call in ordering the second hit, which he had complete authority to do. Lawmakers have opened investigations following a Washington Post report that Hegseth issued a verbal order to kill everybody on the boat. The first vessel hit in the Trump administration's counter-drug campaign in the Caribbean and Eastern Pacific Ocean that has grown to over 20 known strikes and more than 80 dead. The U.S. also has built up its largest military presence in the region in generations, and many see the actions as a tactic to pressure Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro to resign. While several legal experts have told the Associated Press they believe that the second strike violated peacetime laws and those governing armed conflict. The Pentagon's own manual on the laws of armed conflict also specifically cites striking survivors of a sunken ship as being patently illegal. Orders to fire upon the shipwrecked would be clearly illegal, the manual said. President Donald Trump on Tuesday distanced himself from the secondary strike, which the news report said killed 2 survivors who were clinging to the wreckage. Trump said he didn't know anything, and that he still hasn't gotten a lot of information because I rely on Pete, referencing Hegseth, when asked if he supported the second strike. I didn't know anything about people. I wasn't involved in it, he said. Hegseth sitting next to Trump at the cabinet meeting said Trump has empowered commanders to do what is necessary, which is dark and difficult things in the dead of the night on behalf of the American people. Pentagon Press Secretary Kingsley Wilson said earlier in the day that all of the strikes have been presidentially directed and the chain of command functions as if it should. At the end of the day, the Secretary and the President are the ones directing these strikes, Wilson said, while speaking to hand-picked outlets at an event in the Pentagon. The Trump administration has suggested that the admiral overseeing the operation made the actual decision to conduct a second strike. Trump called him an extraordinary person on Tuesday and said, I want those boats taken out, and if we have to, we'll attack on land also, just like we attack on sea. The White House said Monday that Navy Vice Admiral Frank Mitch Bradley acted without his authority and the law when he ordered the second strike, while Hegseth said on social media that he stood by Bradley and the combat decisions he has made. Bradley is expected to provide a classified briefing Thursday to lawmakers overseeing the military. In other government news, Costco is joining in Washington. Costco is joining other companies that aren't waiting to see whether the Supreme Court strikes down President Donald Trump's most sweeping import taxes. They're going to court to demand refunds on the tariffs they paid. The specialized U.S. Court of International Trade in New York and the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit in Washington ruled earlier this year that Trump's biggest and boldest import taxes are illegal. The case is now before the Supreme Court, and in a November 5th hearing, several of the High Court's justices expressed doubts that the president had sweeping power to declare national emergencies to slap tariffs on goods from almost every country on earth. And if the court strikes down the tariffs, importers may be entitled to refunds on the levies they paid. It's uncertain whether refunds will be granted, and if so, how much, said Brett Scorcum, legal fellow at the Libertarian Cato Institute. But the possibility has prompted many companies, including Costco, to file actions in the U.S. Court of International Trade to get in line, so to speak, for potential refunds. And then Trump claims that he has an almost unlimited right to impose tariffs, a power the Constitution gives to Congress under the 1977 International Emergency Economic Powers, but has now lost twice in court. Trade lawyer Joyce Adtutu, a partner at the Vizin and Elkins law firm, said that Costco is trying to make sure that if and when the Supreme Court overrules the IEEPA tariffs, which could come as late as the summertime, they have the judgment in place. And in other news, remember I just read about the National Guard shooter, that the National Guards were shot and one of them passed away? Well, in Washington, a man accused of shooting the 2 National Guard troops near the White House pleaded not guilty on Tuesday to murder and assault charges during his first appearance before a judge, appearing remotely by video from a hospital bed. Ramallah Lakawal, a 29-year-old Afghan national, was also shot during last week's confrontation, said through an interpreter that he was in pain and couldn't open his eyes. The court-appointed defense attorney entered Lackawanna's lawless plea on the behalf during a brief hearing in Washington, D.C. Lackawanna is charged with first-degree murder, assault with intent to kill, and illegal possession of a firearm, and the shooting that killed Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, 20, and wounded Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, 24. Another National Guard member heard shotguns and saw Beckstrom and Wolf fall to the ground as Alakawal fired a gun and screamed, "Allahu Akbar," according to a police report filed in court on Tuesday. Lackawanna chased after and shot at another Guard member before troops detained him as he tried to reload his gun. D.C. Superior Court Judge Renee Raymond ordered Lackawanna held without bond. His case is due back in court on January 14th. Beckstrom and Wolf were deployed with the West Virginia National Guard for President Donald Trump's law enforcement surge at the nation's capital, which has flooded the city with federal troops and agents since August. Authorities were investigating the possible motive for what they described as an ambush-style attack. A prosecutor, Ariel Dean, described the shooting as a shocking crime and said it appears that Lackawanna traversed the city to some extent before approaching the troops and shooting them. Raymond ordered him detained, citing the sheer terror that resulted from Lackawanna's actions. The magistrate said it appeared that Lackawanna, a resident of Washington state, traveled across the country with a specific purpose in mind. He described the government's case against him as exceedingly strong. And for our last issue, which is Thursday, December 4th, we have an article, Help with the Dog Sitter's Nightmare. Rick Huntsman experienced every dog sitter's worst nightmare on Wednesday. His son's dog, Nico, escaped while he was watching him. I was going to take him for a walk, and he bolted out the door, and he was so fast I couldn't catch up with him, Rick said. In the interest of full disclosure, Rick and his wife, Sue, are longtime friends of mine and fellow members of the Niagara Falls Salvation Army. This is a commentary by Berkshire. After Nico's escape, friends and neighbors were busy helping Rick canvass the neighborhood near the Huntsman Maple Avenue. Near their home, they're now asking residents to keep an eye out for the lost pooch, which was last seen in a wooded area off of Hudson Drive in DeVille. She describes Nico as very skittish and very fast, but said he is friendly and won't bite. She's hopeful he might come to people if they try to lure him with a dog treat. Anyone who spots Nico or manages to get a hold of him is to contact Rick by phone, which is 716-478-5575. But we need help, and we appreciate everybody's help. In other news, a jury selection begins Monday in the Falls attempted murder case. In Lockport, a jury selection is set to begin Monday in the trial of a Niagara Falls man accused of gunning down another man in front of a 19th Street convenience store in March of 24. Jalek George, 27, of the Falls, faces charges of second-degree attempted murder, first-degree assault, a second-degree criminal possession of a weapon, and the shooting of Thomas Carter, 31, also of the Falls. The shooting took place during a confrontation in the area of 19th Street and Ashland Avenue on the evening of March 3rd. The Niagara County Grand Jury indicted George about a month later. If convicted on all of the charges, George could face a possible maximum combined sentence of 50 years to life in state prison. Falls Police Patrol officers said they responded to the 1000 block of 19th Street at about 9:35 p.m. on the night of the incident, after they heard 2 gunshots while out of their cars on an unrelated call nearby. At around the same time, 911 operators said they began receiving calls of shots fired in the area. So officers said that when they arrived on the scene, they found Carter suffering from what was described as time as a life-threatening gunshot wound. Falls firefighters and EMTs were called to the scene, but Carter was taken to Niagara Falls Memorial Medical Center in a private vehicle. Carter was later transferred to Erie County Medical Center, where he was initially listed in critical condition. Investigators said Carter was able to survive the shooting and now is recovering from his wounds. And in other news, Jeffrey Epstein accuser urges judges to conceal his court records. Well, in New York, one of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's most vocal accusers urged judges on Wednesday to grant the Justice Department's request to unseal records from their federal sex trafficking cases, saying the only transparency is likely to lead to justice. Annie Farmer weighed in through her lawyer, Sigrid McCauley, after the judges asked for input from victims before ruling whether the records should be made public under a new law requiring the government to open its files on the late financier and his longtime confidant, who sexually abused young girls and women for decades. Farmer and other victims fought for the passage of the law known as the Epstein Files Transparency Act, signed last month by President Donald Trump. It compels the Justice Department, full and federal prosecutors to be released by December 19th, and the vast troves of material they amassed during investigation into Epstein. The Justice Department last week said Manhattan federal judge Richard M. Berman and Paul A. Engerman to lift secrecy orders on grand jury transcripts and other materials from Epstein's 2019 sex trafficking case and a wide range of records from Maxwell's 2021 case, including search warrants, financial records, and notes from interviews with victims. Nothing in these procedures should stand in the way of their victory or provide a backdoor avenue to continue to cover up history's most notorious sex trafficking operation, McCauley wrote in a letter to the judges. The attorney was critical of the government for failing to prosecute anyone else in Epstein and Maxwell's orbit. She asked the judges to issue the orders they issued and do not preclude the Justice Department from releasing other Epstein materials, adding that Farmer is wary that any denial could be used as a pretext or excuse to withhold information. And this episode has some interesting things. In brief, Art Park and Company has received $25,000 grant for the New York State Council on the Arts. Through New York State Combined Investment in Arts and Culture, the council has awarded $80.9 million in FY 2026 to arts and cultural nonprofits across all 10 regions and a historic number of artists. These grants will serve artists and organizations in every region and county, fueling our economy and serving our communities, said Council on the Arts Executive Director Erica Mullen. We know this support isn't just an investment in the arts, it's an investment in New York's future. And just for kids, they were awarded $25,000 in scholarships. So just for kids school-age scholarship program will be awarded the $25,000 in scholarships to 25 graduating high school seniors across Western New York. Each attendee will receive a $1,000 scholarship to support their continued education and career goals. And we have some police reports. In Niagara Falls, there was a burglary. Police are investigating the burglary at a store on the 2100 block of Hyde Park Boulevard. at 11:43 p.m. on November 12th. Officers said they responded to a burglar alarm, and when they arrived on scene, they found the glass of the front door of the business shattered. So police said they searched the building but didn't locate any suspects. Store security cameras recorded video of a male suspect inside the store. A false man was arrested after an incident in the 700 block of 8th Street at 2:45 p.m. November 11th, and he was charged with second-degree menacing and is accused of threatening another man with a machete-style knife. And a false woman was arrested after she allegedly threw bleach on another woman during a confrontation in the 1000 block of 13th Street at 7:13 p.m. on November 18th. She was charged with unlawful possession of noxious matter. And last but not least, a false man was arrested after officers said he refused to stop while riding an electric bike the wrong way on a one-way street, and then resisted arrest in the area of 25th Street and Walnut Avenue at about 12:56 a.m. on Friday. He was charged with resisting arrest and second-degree obstructing governmental administration. He was also issued citations for multiple traffic offenses. You're listening to a reading of articles and features on the Niagara Gazette, from the Niagara Gazette, the radio reading service. And they have some new FDA-approved glasses that can slow nearsightedness in kids. So in Washington, for many children, the experience of getting their first pair of glasses is an inevitable milestone, the first in a lifetime of visits to the eye doctor. But what if those lenses could actually help preserve the children's vision and reduce the chances for more serious eye problems in the adulthood? Well, that's the promise of a new type of lens approved by the Food and Drug Administration in September. Well, the technology has previously been available in Europe, Asia, and other parts of the world. It's now rolling out in the U.S. Here's what we want to know about the new approach. Myopia, which is commonly called nearsightedness, is when people can clearly see objects at close range but struggle with distant objects, which often appear blurry or indistinct. Studies concluded around the world have shown rising rates of myopia, which researchers have associated with increased time indoors looking at screens, books, and other objects held close to the eye. In the U.S., 30 to 40% of children will have myopia by the time they finish high school, according to Dr. Michael Repka, a professor and pediatric orthodontologist at the Johns Hopkins School of Medicine. Until now, doctors have few options after treating the condition. It was typically and simply, your child needs to wear glasses and they'll live with it, Repka said. It will be lifelong and it will likely get worse over the next few years. The specialized glasses sold under the brand name Essilor Stellant are approved by the FDA to slow nearsightedness in 6 to 12-year-old kids. The FDA said it cleared that lenses based on company data showing children experience a 70% reduction in the progression of their myopia after 2 years. Over time, myopia causes the eye to grow longer, worsening vision and increasing the risk of tears to the retina, the light-sensitive tissue at the back of the eye that is essential for vision. The new lenses use 11 connective rings filled with tiny raised dots to reinforce light to the retina in a way that is believed to slow elongation of the eye. Whether this hypothesis is ultimately proven to be true, of course, matters only in part, Ripka said. Only that the lenses appear to work regardless of how the underlying science works. In the company study, children wearing the lenses showed a 50% reduction in eye lengthening when measured after 2 years. Currently, researchers in the U.S. and other countries are conducting their own independent studies to confirm those results. And in other news, Americans gave $4 billion in Giving Tuesday at 2025. Americans gave $4 billion to nonprofits on Giving Tuesday in 2025, an increase from the $3.6 billion they gave in 2024, according to estimates from the nonprofit Giving Tuesday. Most people also volunteered their time on the Tuesday after Thanksgiving this year, which fell on December 2nd, and has become a major fundraising day for nonprofits. This year, 11.1 million people in the U.S. volunteered, up from 9.2 million last year. Giving Tuesday started in 2012 as a hashtag and a project of the 92nd Street Y in New York and has since become an independent nonprofit. The organization estimates how much was given and how many people volunteer using data from a wide variety of sources, including giving platforms, payment processors, and software applications, and nonprofit use. Woodrow Rosenbaum, the chief data officer for Giving Tuesday, said both the number of people giving and the overall donation amount may have increased this year as people seek a sense of belonging and connection. Generosity is a really powerful way to get that, Rosenbaum said in an interview with the Associated Press. But I think mostly it's just that when people see need, they want to do something about it, and Giving Tuesday is an opportunity to do that in a moment of celebration as opposed to crisis. Overall donations increased 8.1% from last year when adjusted for inflation. Giving Tuesday has also seen the average donation increase in size over time, and Rosenbaum said people may be seeking additional ways to give as well. In other news, there was in Washington, President Donald Trump on Wednesday announced a proposal to weaken vehicle mileage rules for the auto industry, loosening regulatory pressure on automakers to control pollution from gasoline-powered cars and trucks. The plan, if finalized next year, could significantly reduce fuel economy requirements, which sets rules on how far new vehicles need to travel on a gallon of gasoline through the 2031 model year. The administration and automakers say the rules will increase America's access to the full range of gasoline vehicles they need and can afford. The administration projects that the new standards would set the industry fleet-wide average for light-duty vehicles at roughly 34.5 miles per gallon in the 2031 model year, down from a projected 50.4 miles per gallon in 2031 under the Biden-era rule. The move is the last action by the Trump administration to reverse Biden-era policies that encourage cleaner-running cars and trucks, including electric vehicles, and has sparked criticism for environmental groups. Burning gasoline for vehicles is a major contributor to planet-warming greenhouse gas emissions. From day one, I've been taking action to make buying a car more affordable, Trump said at a White House event that included top executives from two of the largest U.S. automakers. The rule reverses a Biden-era policy that forced automakers to build cars using expensive technologies that drove up costs, drove up prices, and made the car much worse, Trump said. The action is expected to save consumers about $1,000 off the price of a new car, Trump said. New cars sold for an average of $49,766 on average in October, according to Kelley Blue Book. Automakers applauded the planned changes, which came amid industry complaints that the Biden-era rules were difficult to meet. And this is a rather funny article. This is all over social media the other day. A very intoxicated raccoon was found passed out in the bathroom of a liquor store in Ashland, Virginia over the weekend after breaking in and ransacking several shelves, officials said Tuesday. The Black Friday break-in was discovered early Saturday morning by an employee at the Ashland ABC store. The employee called the local animal control office to report that she had found the break-in suspect passed out on the bathroom floor. Animal control officer Samantha Martin responded to the scene and safely secured our masked bandit and transported him back to the shelter to sober up before questioning, said Hanover County Animal Protection and Shelter. They said in a Facebook post. After a few hours of sleep with no signs of injury, other than maybe a hangover and poor little choices, the raccoon was released safely back into the wild, hopefully after having learned that breaking and entering is not the answer, the agency said. Officer Martin was commended for her professionalism and good humor in handling the chaotic situation. Just another day in the life of Hanover Animal Protection, she said. And there's a picture here, and it shows right next to the toilet is this raccoon passed out. Too much to drink for this raccoon. So, next article. What fuels reindeer can be found locally? So kids everywhere know that Santa Claus subsists on Christmas cookies. Young, caring souls go out of their way to set aside a plate of the seasonal goodies for Saint Nick every Christmas Eve to make sure he has the energy to work his magic. But what about his ride? What do his reindeer eat? How do they fuel up for their intercontinental travels? Well, in the far north of Canada and Eurasia, reindeer moss is an incredibly important food for caribou, also known as reindeer. It has been estimated that moss provides 50% of the hoofed creature's nourishment in the summer months and 90% in the winter months. Even though it is slow growing at just 3 millimeters per year, reindeer moss blankets the tundra and the understory of boreal forest. Even after continual consumption by caribou, it's ubiquitous part of the northern landscape. While we aren't that far north, reindeer moss can be found in the higher peaks of western New York. Its great abundance, and even then it's quite common, is at elevation in excess of 2,000 feet, such as in the mountains of Alma Hill and White Hill in Allegheny County. That holds to the old naturalist adage that an increase in altitude is similar to an increase in latitude. The north is best replicated the higher you go. Reindeer moss can be found in disturbed sites in these mountains, such as parking areas, hunting camps, or logged-out forest. It can be identified by its low height, no more than 3 inches, light gray, almost white branched appearance, very dry and crunchy feel, and the small colonies that it grows in. Despite its name, it is not a moss, it's a lichen, and lichens are best described as a symbiotic composite organism composed of both algae and fungi. You're likely more familiar with the bluish-green plate-like lichens that grow on trees and logs. It has been said that reindeer's moss is edible and is a great survival food. It's probably classified as a survival food because you'd have to be in dire straits to eat it. It may be eligible, but only in the loosest sense of the word. Edible, but only in the loosest sense of the word. When sampled raw, it's incredibly dry, like if you one day decided to munch on styrofoam or straw. So the flavor is moderately yucky due to its heavy acid concentration. It's tart and best compared to the taste of a pill, like aspirin or Tylenol, if you bit into one rather than swallowed one. And who would have traditionally seemed to enjoy the flavor when reindeer moss is cooked. They first soak it in the water, boil it a few times to get rid of the bad acid taste, crumble it, and then add it to breads, milk, and animal fats. It also makes a good thickener for soups and stews. After a few boilings and then cooking, it is said to have an earthly mushroom-like flavor. Beyond that, it could serve some medical purposes. Inuits use boiled reindeer moss water to fight diarrhea and kidney stones. It has been used to dress wounds and it also makes for a good sponge. Just how good a sponge it is? Well, it sucks up everything, including fallout. With Chernobyl again in the news in recent years because of the Ukraine-Russia conflict, consider this. In Scandinavia, the lichens absorbed cesium 137 for the Chernobyl disaster of 1986, making them and reindeer that eat them radioactive to this day, almost 40 years later. Could that explain Rudolph's red nose? The next time you're hiking the high peaks of Allegheny County and encounter the strange plant fungus, admire it as a sort of treasure from Santa's home, and don't disturb any colonies of the lichens. While quite common in New York's Adirondack Park, reindeer moss is very uncommon in western New York. Leave it for the flying reindeer to enjoy when they need a rest stop during their Christmas deliveries. Lastly, we have some dates ahead for December. So if you're interested, in Saturday, December 13th and December 20th, Santa is going to be on the carousel from 10 to 11:30 a.m. and noon to 1:30 p.m. and from 3:30 p.m. So carousel rides, reindeer games, and pictures with Santa. Pre-registration is required. No admission is sold at the door. So children from 2 to 16 are $14 and adults are $10, and under 2 are free. It's at 180 Thompson Street, North Tonawanda, New York. And if you're interested, you can contact them at 716-693-1885. Then on Saturday, December 6th to January 4th, there's the 35th Annual Festival of Lights, which is from 5 to 9 p.m. And then they're having their famous Fish Fry Fridays from 11 to 7 at Our Lady of Fatima Shrine. That's on Swan Road in Lewiston. And then on Friday, December 5th, to Sunday, December 7th, there's a bake sale from noon to 8 at the same place on Swan Road in Lewiston. It's Our Lady of Fatima. And Sunday, December 7th, there's a trade show on collectible toys from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., and there's over 50 tables.
The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or